There is a version of you that you have never met, not the version that performs for others, not the version shaped by what your parents needed you to be or what your culture decided was acceptable, the real one, the one underneath. Most people spend their entire lives living a version of themselves assembled by accident, by fear, by the unconscious need to belong, by approval they spent decades chasing, and they call that self. But it is not. It is a costume worn so long it began to feel like skin. Psychology, the serious kind, not the kind that sells easy answers, has spent a century asking one question: why do people suffer when they have the capacity not to? The answers it found were not comfortable, but they were true. Today we explore 7 psychological truths that most people only discover after years of unnecessary pain. These are not slogans. They are the findings of people who spent their lives in the darkest rooms of the human mind and came back with light. If even one of these reaches you at the right moment, it may save you years of searching in the wrong direction. Lesson 1. The parts of yourself you reject are the parts that control you. Carl Jung called it the shadow, the unconscious repository of everything we have deemed unacceptable in ourselves. The rage we were told was wrong. The ambition we were taught was selfish. The grief we were not permitted to show. All of it went somewhere. It went underground. We do not eliminate these parts by rejecting them. We drive them underground. And from underground, they run the show. They emerge as sudden tempers, inexplicable fears, patterns of self-sabotage that make no logical sense on the surface. Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." This may be the most important sentence in the history of psychology. Read it again. Let it settle. The practice is not to fix your shadow. It is to face it. To look at the parts of yourself you have been running from and say, "I see you. You are also me." That act of recognition is where genuine freedom begins. Lesson 2. The search for happiness will make you miserable. The search for meaning will set you free. Viktor Frankl survived 3 years in Nazi concentration camps, Auschwitz, Dachau, and others. He watched people perish not from the conditions alone, but from the loss of a reason to survive. And he watched others endure identical conditions and emerge intact. The difference was not luck. It was not even physical health. It was whether a person had something to live for. Frankl wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. Purpose is not a luxury. It is oxygen." The modern world has confused the pursuit of happiness with the pursuit of pleasure. They are not the same. Pleasure fades. Meaning accumulates. A life built on pleasure is always running after the next thing. A life built on meaning needs nothing extra. Ask yourself not, "What do I want?" but "What is being asked of me? What does this moment, this relationship, this suffering require of me?" The answer to that question is where your life is. Lesson 3. Everything you avoid grows larger in the dark. Psychology has a name for it: experiential avoidance. The attempt to suppress, escape, or alter unwanted internal experiences, thoughts, feelings, memories, sensations. It is the most common human response to pain and the most counterproductive. Harvard psychologist Daniel Wegner demonstrated this with a simple experiment. He told people not to think of a white bear. They thought of nothing else. He called it ironic process theory. The mind monitors for what it is supposed to suppress, and in monitoring, keeps it permanently alive. When you avoid grief, it does not go away. It hardens. When you avoid anxiety, it does not shrink. It waits. When you avoid a difficult conversation, the distance it creates does not stay the same. It grows. The only way out in every serious school of psychology is through. Sit with what is difficult, not to suffer more, but to stop giving it the extra power that comes from being chased. Named things lose power. Faced things lose power. Only the unseen remains monstrous. Lesson 4. You are not your thoughts. You are the one watching them. William James, the father of American psychology, described the self as having two aspects: the me, the story, the identity, the image we carry, and the I, the pure awareness that observes all of it. Most people live entirely inside the me. They have never met the I. Your thoughts are events that happen in consciousness. They are not you. Your emotions are weather passing through a sky. They are not you. Your past, your mistakes, your failures, these are chapters. They are not the reader. The breakthrough in cognitive psychology came from exactly this recognition. You do not have to believe every thought you think. You can observe a thought and choose not to act on it. That space between thought and action, that pause, is where freedom lives. Watch your thoughts as you would watch clouds, with curiosity, without judgment, without the need to fix or follow every one. You are the sky, not the weather. Lesson 5. How you love others is a map of how you were first loved. Attachment theory, developed by John Bowlby and expanded by Mary Ainsworth, revealed something that changed everything we knew about human behavior. The patterns of closeness and distance we form in our earliest years become the templates for every significant relationship that follows. The anxious style that chases reassurance. The avoidant style that mistakes distance for strength. The fearful style that wants closeness and fears it equally. These are not character flaws. They are learned responses to early environments, adaptations that once made perfect sense. Understanding your attachment pattern does not chain you to it. It gives you the first thing you need to change: awareness. You cannot edit a story you do not know you are telling. Ask yourself, am I responding to this person in front of me or to someone from long ago? That question alone, asked honestly and often, can transform every relationship you have. Lesson 6. The best moments of your life will not be the easiest ones. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi spent decades studying what he called flow, the state of complete absorption in a challenging activity where self-consciousness disappears, time distorts, and performance peaks. He found that people report their deepest satisfaction not during rest, but during meaningful effort. We are designed for challenge, not for ease. The hedonic treadmill, psychology's term for the way pleasure always returns to baseline no matter what we gain, means that comfort cannot be the destination. Growth must be. Engagement must be. Find the work that makes you lose track of time. The conversation that makes you forget everything else. The problem that pulls you so completely that you emerge hours later feeling more alive. That is not distraction. That is your life calling you back to itself. Lesson 7. The way you speak to yourself determines the ceiling of your life. Kristin Neff, one of the leading researchers in self-compassion, discovered something that overturned decades of self-help mythology. Self-criticism. The relentless internal voice that tells you that you are not enough does not motivate, it paralyzes. The research shows that people who practice self-compassion, who treat themselves with the care they would offer a close friend in pain, are more resilient, more accountable, more willing to try again after failure, not less, more. The inner critic does not keep your standards high. It keeps you small. It keeps you afraid to try because failure feels catastrophic when you are already being cruel to yourself. The critic is not your ally. It never was. Speak to yourself as you would speak to someone you love who is suffering, not with false comfort, with honesty and kindness together. This is hard. I am doing my best. I am allowed to be human. Those words, said with sincerity, are the beginning of something new. 7 truths. Not one of them is a shortcut, but every one of them is a door. Face your shadow. Seek meaning over happiness. Walk through what you fear. Watch your thoughts without being ruled by them. Understand the patterns in how you love. Pursue the work that absorbs you completely. And speak to yourself with the compassion you deserve. These discoveries were not made by philosophers sitting comfortably in marble halls. They were made in therapy rooms, in prison camps, in grief, in laboratories, by people trying to understand why human beings suffer when they have so much capacity not to. You do not need to enter therapy to use these truths. You need only to begin noticing, to become a curious observer of your own inner life rather than its helpless passenger. The examined life is not always comfortable, but it is alive. And once you have tasted that aliveness, the kind that comes from facing yourself honestly, the performance of a comfortable life will never be enough again. The version of yourself you have never met is not far away. It is not waiting at the end of a long journey. It is here, in the honest act of looking. If these ideas found you at the right time, stay with us. We explore timeless wisdom for the modern mind every week.